All right, folks, what we got here is a 72 Monte Carlo. Actually, one of my YouTube viewers from Nashville, Tennessee, saw what I was doing here and decided he wanted to let me fix his car. So, been trying to work him in for probably 3 months or so. I've just been so busy. So anyway, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make I don't know if I'm gonna do 2 videos or maybe just one, but I'm gonna video edit it and try to, my first time of trying to put some clips together. My buddy done it for our trip to Carlisle, and it worked out pretty good. So here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna do a roof replacement. I'm gonna briefly describe and talk about, you know, what needs to be done, the steps we're gonna go. I don't have anybody to hold the camera. I may try to get something set up where I can video a little of the process, but I'm not going to get too fancy with it. But what we're going to do, we're going to do a top skin from AMD, the 68 to 72 skin. We're going to do some donor car sail panels. We're going to do a reproduction of deck filler. Probably going to have to take the deck lid off. And we've got belt and speed channels here. Got to put new studs, and then hopefully by Thursday, a new windshield and back glass reinstalled. Call it done by Friday, and he can pick it up this next weekend. So not going to be a long drawn out process here. And so that's what we're going to do. You can see the rust just took its toll, and it was already fixed improperly at one time. So what we're going to start doing here is we're going to take the grinder wheel and just cut the roof off here, down through here and here, and just slice it, and then take a cutoff wheel and go down through here and cut the drip rail channel. Then we can get the skin off, and then we'll go from there. So anyway, hope you enjoy this video, and we will see you in the next clip. All right, so probably been out here about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and we've already got the roof skin coming loose. The top skins are not hard to remove from these cars. There is absolutely no excuse to hoodoo one of these things and not fix it correctly. And the top skins are not very expensive. So we got to cut the other side, and the roof skin will be off. We got all our cuts made. The roof skin's ready to come off. One little place trying to hold us off here. There it is. And folks, that's how you remove a roof skin on a 68 to 72 GMA body by yourself. Just flop it off on the ground, that'll do. But anyway, and then you want to, once the roof skin's off, you want to observe the structure. And luckily, structure, the rats hadn't got up in here. This car's been driven, so looks like we're in good shape. I'm gonna get the vacuum cleaner out here, vacuum all this mess up. Then I'm gonna mix up some epoxy and use a paintbrush and paintbrush some epoxy on this structure. And if it was only just the skin bad and a couple window channels, we might have this done then tomorrow. But that's not the case. We got sail panels to tape off and line out and cut those out. We got to remove this. Then I've got to break down the donor panels to put those in. They do make full quarters for these cars now, but you know, I had those for half price of buying 2 quarters. So that's where the direction we went. So anyway, now just a matter of taking the grinder. Once all this crap is out of the way, make sure you get all of this out of the way. This will be flying and hitting you in the face and whatnot. Then clean up your channels. All you gotta do is grind this, clean it up a little bit. Basically, some of the old roof and sail panel you can leave welded in place, and that just helps fill it up, not having to use as much filler later, and use it to your advantage. So there's the wire for the dome light. So anyway, roof skin's off, and we'll see you in the next clip. All right, so next step in the process, we got the sail panels cut off the car. We've got the rear deck filler cut off the car. We've got both sides of sail panels. Did a pretty good job going a straight cut. Got some other rust here. I don't think we'll be fixing that at this time, but had to take the deck lid off. You want to go ahead and take the deck lid off when you're doing this, get it out of your way. I found the easiest way to get these off is to make 3 separate cuts. They're spot welded here and across here. You want to cut here in the trench, get rid of that, make another cut here in the window channel, take that off, and then make another cut here, and that'll do away with the interior trim. So that's kind of where we're at on it. I'm gonna you can see all this stuff was in pretty bad shape. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna take my grinder, my rock on my grinder, electric grinder, and I'm gonna try and get the grinding done, and take the wire brush on the drill and go over some of the surface rust down in here in places, and then mix up some epoxy primer and go ahead and have everything and put it on with a brush, prime all these channels black. And then tomorrow, it's about 10:30 right now at night, tomorrow I'm gonna, hey cat, tomorrow I'm gonna work on getting the sail panels off the donor car cut off, trimmed, and ready to go on the car. And then hopefully tomorrow we'll build this back up with the sail panels tacked in place and the roof skin, begin to fit the roof skin. If tomorrow I don't do anything but put the sail panels on, tack in place, and get this piece tacked in, I'll be happy. But I'm gonna try to get the roof skin at least fitted. So anyway, this is kind of where we're at, and you can kind of see the steps of the process here. So we'll catch you on the other side. All right, so we got everything grinded down, all the lips. Any weak metal that was rusted is gone. Took some epoxy primer with a brush and just kind of drizzled it everywhere. Had to pretty much preserve anything from ever rusting anymore. The rats had made a nest here. Luckily, it wasn't rusted through. This is one of the best looking package trays I've ever seen. It's not even been hacked up for a speaker shelf. So that's where we're at. So review the video, but this is kind of the way you would go about doing your roof. Hopefully your car won't have bad sail panels, but otherwise now it's ready for to grind the edges of the where it's going to be welded in. Get the sail panels broke down from the structure. It's easier when you're cutting it out of a donor car to just sawzall everything out, but now the skin's got to be physically broken down from that structure, and then we're going to put this in here, kind of get it close to a butt weld, but it might be slightly overlapped, which is fine. I've kind of changed my viewpoint on overlaps versus butt welds, especially in areas where it doesn't hurt to have a little extra strength, and can be a very floppy area if you're not careful. Be careful about putting a lot of pressure on the side of the quarter panel when you're working. You don't want to get this distorted. Otherwise, you shouldn't need any bracing or anything. I've done this several times, so kind of know what to expect at this point. But so anyway, you can kind of see the old car's pretty solid. Inner outer wheel houses all look good. So wouldn't have been too much longer. This front lip would have had to been replaced, but luckily it all grinded out smooth. So anyway, so we're at this step now. The next step is, like I said, break down the sail panels in there, and then get them fitted, and then get them tacked in place. Drop the roof on, fit the roof, tack the roof in place, and then go back and forth all the way around as we weld this in. Weld this piece in. Luckily, this is just a spot welded piece. And then, once that's all done, we'll talk about, you know, making sure your chrome's going to fit, putting window studs in, clips, and then hopefully by Thursday, ready for the new front windshield and reinstall the back glass. So, again, overhauling 72 Monte Carlo, 7 days or less, roof skin and sail panel replacement. All right, so what we got here, we got the sail panel broke loose from this old structure. Got it fitted in place. I was able to save the structure, the channel here. So what I'm doing is I'm drilling holes and gonna spot weld that back in. Got this set in place. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna weld this to the body. No, we're not. We're not gonna do that. We're gonna trim this sail panel and right down through here where it'll jihad up with the quarter panel. Got my welder here, and that's the next step. Then we'll go to the other side and then the roof. All right, so we've got the sail panel all tacked in place. We ended up doing a just about a perfect butt weld here. Put it up there, cut it, and then when you're getting your line, have the grinder at an angle like this. That way you cut under the old panel and you end up with a pretty flush weld. If you try to cut straight, you'll end up with a bigger gap. So anyway, if it overlaps a little bit, just take your grinder and knock that off. Was able to save the original window channel here, like I said. Got this all tacked in place. This thing here is probably one of the more easy panels to replace on one of these cars. This lip has a habit of wanting to drop. So what I did is took this big clamp and clamped like this, and that held that up, and that way the gap, what'll happen is your gap will get big there, and then the rubber don't want to fit as tight. So that's just something you want to be mindful of. But pretty happy with how progress we've made. When I get back, I'm gonna break down the other side and try to get it. My goal is to try to get it tacked in place today. So it's been a while since I've done this, so I was a little rusty, but I think the next side will probably go faster. And then when you start welding them in, you're just gonna have to come back and forth to weld this up solid, and that way you don't warp anything. And then probably tomorrow I'll get the roof fitted, trimmed, and probably on. And then of course I need to strip this old paint, and then Bodywork, the channels, front and back, and then get some primer on it, put the window studs in, and then it'll be ready for the windshield. I'm hoping that we'll be ready for that on Thursday. But anyway, so as you can see, it's coming along. Follow me to the next segment. All right, so just wanted to show you kind of how I go about fitting this sail panel to the body. I know a lot of you out there is going to see this and think I'm a hack. Think, well, why don't you put full quarters in this car? Blah, 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 all this. But yeah, I mean, ideally a full quarter would be a better repair because you don't have a body seam. But, you know, nearly no different than just cutting out a small patch panel anywhere and doing it. Now, I do notice some issues that this quarter has, but the customer just wanted a roof and sail panels. So that's what we're doing. I feel pretty confident that this quarter panel is pretty good. So what you want to do is you kind of lay it up there and get your cut, and then you end up with a pretty smooth weld. This will slightly flex a little bit, but you can push it in just ever so slightly so the gap's not as big. And we're basically ready to start welding. All right, so we got pretty much everything welded up. Now it's got to be grinded down, and the other side's got to be finished butt welding. This is in. This is totally in. This is about halfway in. Excuse my flux core welder. I know it's not pretty, but it does the job. So then I'm gonna try it tonight, probably weld that on up solid. And then next thing will be the top skin. Grind all the welds down, put some epoxy on the welds so they won't rust on me till I get some primer on the whole top. Fit the roof skin will be tomorrow's job. Coming along good. So you can kind of see what you need to do here, and then the top will lay pretty much flush. And we'll explain that in a later video, in a later segment. All right, so we got both sail panels in. We got them grinded and pretty much ready for a little epoxy to be put in the seam there. And they went in real nice. One thing, if you want to know you're getting your sail panel in the right spot, is make sure this hump lines up with the hump that you on the car. If that don't line up, then you know you got issues. We got this side in welded down, grinded down, I mean. Everything's starting to look good. So now we're ready for the roof skin, which in reality is really the easy part of this whole process, roof skin. So this is a generic roof skin, 68 to 72, so it'll need to be trimmed. From what I understand, they do make a roof skin for a Monte Carlo, but it's not made by AMD. It's another brand. I don't know how good it is, but it is made for the correct cut. I'd like to try one eventually, but I would not want it to be thin like a lot of the cheaper parts are. Although it's not cheap, it's more expensive than the AMD, but it's I believe they listed as a Monte Carlo and Grand Prix skin. So anyway, we're gonna get this roof on, and that'll be the next segment. All right, so we got the roof skin in place. I just took the clamps off of it because I got to move it to trim the edges, but just wanted to kind of give you a visual here of what you need to see. You're gonna have a slight gap here on both sides, probably a little bigger on one than the other, but this will have to be ground. This edge will have to be grinded down slightly until until it's put until it'll drop in place. So you got a little gap here. Any other the issues, body filler and fiberglass will fill in. Fiberglass reinforced filler will fill the rest of this mess in. And then of course you need to drill some holes across both sides and spot weld it in. Spot weld it in a few places down through here. Pretty much that's the wrap. So we're gonna get started on that. I'll show you the next step. All right, so in the last segment we put the roof on and kind of seen what we needed to do. Well, I've done this a few times, so I knew exactly what to do. And if you'll look and see, I ground probably half of the lip off on both sides. Done the same on both sides, clink, and it goes right down in the channel. Like a thing of beauty. Got it clamped on the back, got it clamped on the front, so now it can't move. But now the next step is to, just in case I have to pick the top back up, I'm not going to go ahead and tack it in place yet. But I'm going to start trimming this. The easiest way to do here, since you can't see where the line is to do a little at a time. You don't even have to weld it solid. You can tack it like the factory did. I have welded it solid in the past because I cut off a little too much or something, but try to avoid that. You want to trim this off. You can weld that up. But you can see it's flush and nice with the window channel. The new roofs don't come with studs, so once you get it all welded in, you'll have to put your studs in for your window clips. And I got to get that done before Thursday, so time's a ticking. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that, and you can kind of see about how much I ground off. I'm gonna say probably half the lip on both sides. Well, there's how wide it was, but it was wider in certain points. So again, I'll tack it in a few places down through here. Turn the heat way up and let it burn through the drip rail just to stick it, and then I'll seam seal it. Or probably on this car I'm going to use seam sealer because this car is not going to be restored right now. This car is going to be driven again, so I'm doing things a little differently. Like, I'm not going to perfect. I'm going to get this really nice. I'm going to get this, but I'm not going to like body work all this to just perfection. There's no point, because the car needs to be stripped. And sandblaster is going to need to come up in here eventually, so, but the sandblaster can stop here. So I'm going to get all this and should be ready to roll. So anyway, see you in the next segment, and the roof will be starting to be tack welded in place. All right, so we've got the roof on the car. Tack weld about every 5 to 6 inches across the front. Same thing in the back. All the welds grinded down. Now the way I put this roof skin on, the factory had a big old deep gap here. I trim off as little as I can and just tap down on the sail panel, and that way you end up with a trench to weld the skin on. And what that keeps you from having to do is have fiberglass and body filler that's that thick like the factory did with the lid. So you end up with a very thin area of filler. I mean, this thing looks kind of like it should already without, you know. Now again, this car is going to be put back on the road, so I'm not perfecting everything because this car would have to be stripped. And a lot of this body work here, when it's sandblasted years from now, would be wasted. I'm gonna try to get this here really close, but this here I mainly just give it a scuff, so when I put some primer on this it'll look nice. I'm about to lay the fiberglass kitty hair on it, but basically what you see here is what has to be done and the steps that you can take to do this and do it in a timely manner. I build 40 hours for this, so you should be able to do the roof and sail panels in 40 hours. If you can't, then you don't need to build any more than that for it. And that includes the bodywork, installing the glass, putting the window studs back, all that stuff too. So not just roof replacement here, we've got to do some stud replacement. So anyway, there's where we're at, and I tacked a few places down through here, just enough to hold it. I ended up welding this up solid. Just not a fan of leaving seams open on the outside of the car. Same thing with this, all this welded up solid. So we're ready for kitty hair, and we'll see you in the next segment. Alright, so this will be one of the last segments of my video collage here of doing a roof skin in 7 days or less. Well after midnight. We got the right on time schedule for the windshield on Thursday. We got the bodywork all done here. Got the curves looking good. Again, like I discussed before, this car is going to be driven again, so there would be a little extra work to be done. Of course, I wouldn't leave old paint anywhere. But basically what I'm figuring is, if the car's ever, when it is redone one day, can tape it off about right here, sandblast it from here down, we can redo this. But this will get by, and this is going to look good. When it's got the flat primer on here, it's going to look really nice. Car is going to be sound driving it around now, no leaks. Good new reproduction auto metal direct roof skin. And if you want to, I've got some other videos talking about doing these roof skins and stuff, but I figured it was kind of a good idea to do this collage. And we got you know, I talk about getting the contours just right in some of my other videos. And what you do is you use the trim and put it up against and check it. And these are pretty darn close. I was able to use the corners out of the donor car. Didn't even have to use the belt and speed parts in this particular situation, but they're always good to have them on standby. But so we're ready to throw some primer on this thing tomorrow. Put the window studs in. It'll be ready for the windshield and the back glass. If you need this particular operation done on your 60, I'm going to say 64 to 72 GM A body, please let me know. This is something periodically I can work in amongst a full-blown restoration. No, I'm not doing your car when I've already got another resto done, resto going, but I can, when I'm waiting on parts or waiting on, or just flat out want to take my eyes off a project for a few days, I can jump on something like this and get it knocked out for you. I'm sure there's a lot of rusty tops out there. So anyway, if that's something you might be interested in, be sure to hit me up. This is how this guy found out about me, was YouTube. So, but anyway, thanks for watching, and I'm going to do maybe 1 or 2 more videos once I get it primed, and then I'll do a final video with the glass installed, and it'll be ready to go home on Saturday. See you in the next segment as this one draws to a close. All right, well, welcome to the, I'm gonna say next to final segment. And it's been a long early part of the week here. We got just primed the top, and just done a good little tape line here, and we got looks pretty good. I'm real happy with how it turned out. Again, to get these molding gaps perfect, they'll need to be a little more time spent when the car is restored. The reason I didn't do that now is I don't know how long this car is going to be before it is restored, so most of all of this primer and filler is just going to be wasted because the car needs to be sandblasted. It's stripped. It's got a couple layers of paint on it, and it just needs to come to the metal. So, but the roof, that is some type of coating they put on these new roofs. I do not recommend letting that sit out in the weather for very long. If you're going to put a top on your car and drive it and then just go back to driving it, or even put a vinyl top back on it, do not put it down over that crap. I don't know what AMD uses. It's some type of EDP coating. I do not think it's waterproof for very long. I've seen hoods rust after sitting in the weather. So make sure you scuff it with a Scotch-Brite. I use a red Scotch-Brite and put you a good coat of epoxy primer on there. I got a couple light coats and one good heavy coat of epoxy. And that'll do it. That'll preserve it. I also did the same thing with this. Put a good heavy coat over the body filler. And that'll preserve the body filler from being from water getting under it. Ideally, this procedure would be done during a restoration, and none of that would really matter. Ideally, you could scuff this with a Scotch-Brite and shoot 2K primer over it and block it, and it'd be ready for paint. But that's not the case. I got the window studs put in, and looks like I got a couple of them kind of low there. But anyway, the type of clips that I'm gonna get is variable level, so as you slide them one way or another, you can kind of take up the slack. So ones that I need to take up the slack, I'll use the long clips. I actually prefer the long style clips for the front and the rear. Just a note there, that's what I prefer. You can use what you want, but I've found I have better luck with those. The guy supplied me with some short clips. Had I known, I would have told him to get all long. Here's what the long ones look like here, and you can come in here on my car, and these are the ones I buy at my local paint supply store. And these look pretty. They got a coating on them, but I don't imagine the red is any worse. So anyway, that's that. What you've watched is a roof replacement on a 72 Monte Carlo. Nothing really rare about this car or anything. Just a good restorable car. And you know, 20 years ago, this car, you know, probably didn't have a bad top on it, but as time progressed, the vinyl top ate it up and it needed a skin. So don't be that person. If you see bubbles under the vinyl, yank it. At least pull the top up and see what's going on. Do one more segment after the glass is in, and that'll be it. I hope you enjoyed this. Enjoyed watching this, and I hope it's been a benefit and a help to you. But we got one more segment, and we'll see you in the next one. All right, everybody, this will be the final video in this, or say final segment in this this collage I'm gonna attempt to put together. If you see this later and it's a bunch of mini videos, then you know why. Roof's all done. When you put everything back, this is kind of what you need to be seeing with the glass. My glass guy put the windows in. You always want to use urethane and a foam dam around the perimeter of the glass, and the foam dam keeps the urethane from making a mess. It's a real clean job. It's what the factory used, and some people try to tell you that GM used butyl rubber. Not so. And using that can result in a very big liability if you work on somebody's car and the windows fly out. So keep that in mind. He always does a real nice job. I ended up using the long clips back here. They just work out so much better. I did use his short ones around the edge, but everything looks like it's on the up and up. And this is what we've finished with. So I done this primer where it looks kind of neat and don't look so almost looks like a vinyl top on here. So it's ready to go back home to Nashville, Tennessee. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this helps your roof job. If you are in need of a I don't know if I've already mentioned this or not, but if you've been in need of a roof replacement on your GM midsize car, especially from 68 to 72, please contact me. Something like this I can work in with the restorations I do. So this is usually a week job or less, depending on what you want done. If I stay on it all day and into the night, I can get it done in about 3 days. So just depends on the severity of the rust, the issues, and what all needs to be done. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.